Hello, everyone. My name is Shama. We're back for yet another edition of Ask a Black Belt. If you've not tuned in for one of these segments before, this is our live Q&A segment where you have an opportunity to ask black belt females questions about Jiu Jitsu, about gym ownership, about competing, anything under the sun that you have questions about. Today, we have a very special guest on. Her Alex Barcelona. She's a black belt. She's a business owner. She's a photographer. She's a competitor. She's a jack of all trades. And we're really excited to have you on here today. Thank you so much for joining us today, Alex.
Hi guys.
So how are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. So I gave you a very short intro, but tell us a little bit more about you.
Let's see. I am a mom and a wife. I've been training jiu-jitsu since 2014 after I had my kid. And Milton and I used to live in California up until the pandemic. And after that, we sold our academy that we had since 2014. And we just up and left and moved to Nashville, Tennessee, which is where we have our new academy. And we've had that since March. And actually, just like 2 months ago, we had to move locations. So we moved another location, but luckily it was very close. They sold the building, but I won't be mad at them because they made a great profit. And so now we have this academy, and that's about it. I love to compete. That was spoken incorrectly. I don't know if I love to compete, but I love to challenge myself. So I do that through competing.
Excellent, excellent. So how did you get started in jiu-jitsu? Where did this journey begin?
I was an athlete my whole life. I played softball literally since I was 7 years old up until about 19 years old, competitively as well. And I did multiple other sports. But then you kind of have to become an adult and you lose all your sense of fun and that was like your identity. I feel like a lot of people in high school and college sports, if they do not continue, they kind of have an identity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And you just kind of have to put your head down and like do the 9 to 5. And then that's what I did. I just did the 9 to 5, became a mom, and that's how it was. And then I found jiu-jitsu, and I was like, oh, wait, I can challenge myself. Wait, I could win at something again. I think anybody just have to follow these steps, and that's kind of how I got into it.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. And so your journey has taken in many different roles as you've gone. And you were a photographer for a while there, out there in the jiu-jitsu scene. We'd see you at a lot of these tournaments when you're out in California.
Yes.
And then you jump in and compete while you're photographing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, this is true. Yeah.
So how were you able to wear all those hats? Because like just for most people, being a competitor is like enough, and then to have to be switching gears that fast,
Because I
how
didn't
are
know.
you? How were you able to do that?
Yeah. I did that for white belt, blue belt, and majority of purple belt. And then white belt, when I was competing, it was just strictly for fun. Like, let's see what happens. Like, I don't know many white belts that have huge goals because you should just be trying to survive at that point. Um, so I was mainly just, oh, I'm gonna go shoot this. Let me compete. I'm already here.
Mhm.
Blue belt was a little bit of that as well, but I started to have more desire and direction. And then end of blue belt into purple, it got pretty difficult. Pulling on like my heartstrings a little bit. Like I wanted to shoot for these people, but then at the same time, it was difficult because I wanted to be selfish as well, and I wanted to win, and I know that my headspace wasn't correct. Or I would be shooting all day long, and then maybe I didn't compete until like 4 or 5 p.m. I would be exhausted. so that's when I decided like maybe I should pull back. So then I started first pulling back with individuals, and then I would just be doing for companies, Gameness, War Tribe, things like that. Then I would just commit to them, and then um, I just pulled the plug around at end of purple belt.
Yeah. No, you know it, and then you've now transitioned into becoming an instructor, a business owner, you know. So then you shifted even more so, right? Taking
Yeah.
on additional roles. So what is it like? I know you run a business with your partner.
Yeah.
What is it like being, I guess, in your opinion, what is it like being a woman business owner in jiu-jitsu, running an academy? What are some of the trials and tribulations that maybe are specific to women that you've had to endure, and how have you had to overcome them?
Um, I don't know because I don't know if I've overcame them yet. Um, trial. Um, Being a woman as a business owner, in my field, truly, I don't feel like there's too much of an issue. However, being a mother as a business owner, I think that's where the problem lies. I don't feel like a woman and a business owner is too much of an issue. I never have been disrespected. Those things do not happen to me. But being a mom and a business owner and an athlete is where the issue is personally for myself. It's very hard to juggle all of those things. You are responsible for raising these children and making them at least pretty decent. So that means you have to like put in work. But if you're also putting in work at your academy, it's very time consuming. So to make both things successful is very, very tricky. Sometimes something's going to fall to the wayside, and then you're going to pick up on the other side. And then when you see that there's an issue, like, wow, I haven't, like, oh, usually I clean in the morning, but today I'm not cleaning in the morning. Maybe I'm going to have to clean like an hour before class because I was doing like some mom thing. Like I forgot to get donuts for Reef's birthday. So I had to go do that because I'm going to be a bad mom if I don't. Things like that. But as a woman, I think I feel pretty level headed in the game of ownership and things like that. As a mom, it's definitely hard. There's lots of guilt when I leave to travel. Who is watching my children? Like, what am I doing? I take them to the gym. They come with me. They're training. Then they hang out. When we get a place, I am always thinking, okay, where are they going to have a space to do homework? Where's their charger for their iPad? Like, I mean, it's literally our second home. I mean, we're here definitely more than we're not. So it
Yeah.
just needs to get to the point of where we can all be,
Yeah.
which is
Absolutely. And I think you touched on a topic that like a lot of moms in jiu-jitsu and a lot of mothers with careers have is they have that guilt, right? Like,
yeah,
oh, I feel guilty because I'm not doing enough for them. And then a lot of times we sacrifice things for ourselves, right?
yes.
So what advice would you have for moms? And I know you're still working and trying to figure this out on your own, but what advice do you have for moms that maybe carry that guilt with them in trying to do something for themselves? And do you think it's important to set aside that side for yourself in order to be a better person for your kids and your business and your career and everything else?
100%. Like they say in the airplane, that you need to put on your oxygen mask first before you save anybody else. So if you are not happy for yourself, nobody is happy. You cannot be a good person, and you cannot be a listening ear. You can't be many, many things if you are not somewhat accepting and happy and in a good place. So I do really always advocate for women, like, you have to take time for yourself. You have to do what makes you happy, even if it's just like 30 minutes to an hour or whatever. Like, and I will be the first to say, it's put your kid on the iPad if that's what it takes. Like, sometimes, like, they're not going to die, and you're not going to be a bad mom for that. Like, if they cannot entertain themselves, I know, like, if Reef is literally not playing with me or another human, he doesn't want to play by himself. So why would I make somebody else play with him Oh, okay. Just go play on your iPad. I will be right back. Somebody, I am gonna go take time for myself. And then I feel fulfilled in the end. And then when I'm fulfilled, I have time. My cup is full now, so they can take from it. But if my cup is constantly empty, um, they're gonna be starved. I was like, right? Just,
No, that's true. So I mean, having been an athlete in high school and through, and then, fitness and health has been a huge part of your life. What are some tips that you have to offer as far as, squeeze again in the terms of like you're taking care of so many other people and responsibilities and getting that workout in, getting that physical activity in. Do you have any tips for any moms out there specifically on how to, again, nurture ourselves through physical fitness and whatnot and still maintain everything else?
yeah, there's surprisingly a lot of hidden ways to, and it can, I mean, it's cliche, but it could be as simple as like cleaning the house. There are times when, again, remember I said when we're multitasking, things fall apart. My house would be one of them, even though I try very hard for it not to. Sometimes I let it go to the wayside. So if there, that means I'm literally gonna be cleaning all day, like laundry, floors, kitchen. So I'm gonna just use that as my workout. I tell myself like it's okay. I'm just gonna get a different style workout in. Or like my daughter really does not like sports at all. She actually just started training and she's very happy finally. But that's the fourth time I've gotten her to try. But prior to that, I was like, okay, Grace, like even if we're just gonna go walk around the block, like it's something. We have to do something every day. And so if maybe I'm not doing a crazy workout when I'm lifting a bunch of weights, then maybe I'll just tailor um, how well I'm eating that day. If I'm lifting a bunch of weights, I will eat anything under the sun. I don't care what I eat. But if I, then I will just be more conscious of like what I'm putting in my body. Maybe not eating like processed foods, really making sure it's super clean. But other than that, I think it's just a balance of whole foods that we're putting into our body and just movement, dancing, cleaning, like walking, just even like, remember, 12 minutes is 1 mile, pretty much. And for 12 minutes, you can walk around. So sometimes I cannot work out, so I will go to Target. And I have to run an errand, and I make sure I go by myself so there's no kids bothering me. But that's the only way I'll walk around. I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, no, fit it in where you can fit it
Yeah.
in. Excellent. So, I mean, you've been training for a while, and I know that a lot of us, I personally have had it many a times, we experience burnout with jujitsu. We've experienced fatigue. It's something that we just do. And somebody had a question here. She's been training since she was 2 years old. She's now 15. I think she's struggling with trying to find that motivation to keep training. Um, what keeps you going, and what advice do you have for people who are kind of stuck in this, like, oh, I need a break, or I don't know if I want to do this anymore. What is the point of all of this?
Right. Um, you're right. It can get pretty mundane and boring at times. Like I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there's only so much technique, and then you have to be creative and innovative later on. But sometimes I make like games with my training partners, and sometimes they know the game, sometimes they don't know the game, which is part of the game as well. Sometimes I'm just going to be like, okay, today nobody is sweeping me. I don't care what happens to me. I don't care if I get tapped out. I don't care if anything happens. Nobody is going to sweep me at all. Sometimes I'm going to play guard, and I have to, I'll just maybe play around for the first like 4 minutes. And then all of a sudden, 1 minute, it's like the last minute of worlds. I have to sweep this person. I have to get my last points. And then that's it. And then they're like, whoa, you just turned it up. I'm like, yeah, that's because I'm playing something in my head. But you just make little games. Sometimes I'll look at the person and I'll be like, I'm going to get your back and I'm going to choke you out. That's what's going to happen. So then they know. So then if I can get on them, it's even better because they already knew it was coming. Like they gave they knew that they had the chance. Um, those are the games I play. But also, I really like to remind people, man, it's more important that you're coming more frequently than going 100%, either 3 or 4 days a week and then like missing. Like, I would rather come to class every single day and like casually hang out, learn, do technique. I don't have to roll every day. I don't have to roll. Like, nobody should be making you do something you don't want to do anyways. Like, we tell our students all the time, like, man, I'd rather have you guys here every day, sitting on the side talking, watching, training, doing technique, and then just hang out. If you're injured or something like that, there's no need to be functioning at 100% 24/7. And as for the young girl that asked and saying she's been training since she's 2 and she's 15, super honest, you have your whole life ahead of you, and jujitsu is not going anywhere. So if you feel like you need to take a break, like, there is no harm in that. Just remember all the positive things that jujitsu gives you. So if you want another outlet to do something else, go do something else, because the worst thing would be to feel forced to do it and then you don't like it anymore. It's definitely more enjoyable to do something that you're not being forced to do. So take a break. No, relax, hang out, find the fun in it again, because it it's the best asset to have. That's what I tried to explain to my daughter when every time it was not a good time. Just it just didn't work for whatever reason. Hormones, her age, the size, like it just wasn't happening. But I,
Mm-hmm.
right now is the best of everything. Please just give it one more try. And she said okay, and she has happily done it. And she knows that she can stop at any time, even when she gets tired in class, because she's even doing the adults class and she's 12. And
Mm-hmm.
I take a break. Like, you good? And she's like, I'm really tired. And I said, then take a break. And she's like, no, I'm going to keep going. I'm like, great. Like, if you can release the pressure, you can find the enjoyment again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think if anybody who's been training for a while, we kind of hit that point. You hit the wall, right? We're
Oh, yeah.
like, is there more to life than this? Jiu-jitsu's been my whole world for 10 plus years now. There's got to be more, right?
Even myself, just now I'm starting to go like, maybe I should like do rock climbing or something. Like, I'm kind of getting bored a little bit. Like, I have this time now. The kids are all in school. Like, maybe I should like do something in the middle of it. Like, it happens for sure.
No. No, absolutely. So you've been in the game for a while now, and you've seen the evolution of jiu-jitsu, and especially for women in particular. What what role? Because you teach as well, but what role do you? I mean, like I said, you're taking on so many different roles, but what role do you want to have in motivating young girls and young women in being a part of jujitsu? And somebody who's maybe listening and watching who doesn't train, what advice would you have to them to why they should train?
Um, why it's Dude, it sounds like so culty, but man, it's the best thing that can happen to you. It really is. There's no there's no negative to it at all. You find a community that you like, because you're gonna, I mean, the people that it attracts, I mean, especially if you have a good gym, like, just the atmosphere becomes like, strangers become your friends, and then your friends become your family, and then these people are here all the time. I tell that to the people who walk in at our academy. I say, look, you're going to sign the membership, and then in like 2 months, I'm not going to be able to get rid of you. And then in like 4 months, you're going to be at my house and we're going to be barbecuing. And then I'm really not going to be able to get rid of you. And they just look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, just wait. And then the time passes. I'm like, hey, remember when I told you that? And I'm like, yeah. There's just no, there's just no negative to it. It's really a healthy thing. It's a fun thing. It engages your mind. It engages your body. It's a great community. You just become better all around and a more full person. There's purpose, there's confidence. Like, I don't even think like, I don't even think I really had a lot of confidence, even in myself, like being alone in a self-defense situation. Um, well, I was just very naive in general. I never thought anything will ever happen to me or could, but not even until about purple and even brown belt. Then I was like, oh, somebody try me. But even until before that, I was still learning and still a little bit cautious. But now, like, I have a aura that I feel is extremely beneficial, and it's something that you cannot buy except for a monthly membership or a year. Like, it just does something to you. And then anybody you ask too says all the same things. Like, it's all the same benefits across the board from anybody. And that should just be enough proof in the pudding it for itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So you kind of touched on it. So as a woman in a leadership role, you're cultivating a gym academy like culture, right? And that's kind of something I want to touch on is, unfortunately the problems of the outside world fall into jujitsu, and we're not exempt of them. So what is it that you do in your gym that really kind of helps cultivate a positive environment? Like, what advice do you have for people in cultivating a positive gym culture within their schools? Like, are there any specific things that you do to ensure that, everybody is included and things along those lines?
I think for gym culture, it is the foundation is based on your owners and instructors. 100%. They are they're the bricks of the whole academy. And that is not if that's not the forefront, nothing
Hmm.
else. So bottom line is you have to make sure that you are in an environment that is happy, that is carefree, that has no pressure of fitting into a form of whatever it is. If somebody's trying to fit you in a box of this, that's probably a red flag. People have always said, which I found very odd, and I started to know, like, I started to catch on probably around like year 2 of owning an academy, and I thought it was, I mean, I hadn't moved yet, and I didn't know I was going to move, so I just that was I didn't know it was a California thing, and then we moved, and now they're still saying it, but people always kept saying, "Oh, I like your guys' vibe. I like your guys' vibe here," and I don't know what that is, but honestly, Milton and I are just extremely open. We tell jokes. We make fun of each other in the middle of the class. Like, it's just a very home environment. And again, I think if your instructors are happy and want your own personal success, that's a huge indicator that you're in the right place. Um, we always have a saying, like Milton always jokes, like, "Oh, girls can do whatever they want here." Like, yeah, you have your, so girls can say no to you. Like, if they don't want to roll, like, don't ask them to roll. If somebody's going hard, he will call you out in the middle of the roll. Like, what are you doing? You're with a 140-pound girl. Like, what are you trying to prove? So we try to make that really known, that there's like no ego. So and I'm pretty sure all the women who have been in our academy feel comfortable. Um, and it's just, again, the more home and happy environment you make it, the easier it is. There is no bad feelings about anything because it's just very casual. The more
Hmm.
casual that, um, the more respectful it could be. That is because it's just natural.
Absolutely. So, moving back to a personal level, what has been one of the most memorable experiences that you've had because of jujitsu?
Um, I think jujitsu has given me an insane amount of opportunity. Um, I also think that's an individual thing as well. It's not for everybody, and um, it also depends on your personality as well and what you choose to do with what you have and the tools that you have. But I just believe that jujitsu has just given me insane amounts of opportunity. I have traveled the world. I didn't even have a passport until I had to make one to compete. That never occurred to me. I was very, very sheltered. Um, and jujitsu opened my eyes to all the possibilities. I never thought I would be a business owner. Yet here I am. Now I'm also marketing. Now I'm also social media. I wear many, you said, and that is because I own a business. And why do I own a business? Because I train jujitsu. And so it is all encompassing. And I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that. And because of that, I'm training, I'm competing. I've become a world champion twice, a Pan American champion, no gi Pan American champion. But then I'm also a mom. Like nobody knew that I won. I went to the grocery store the next day. Like we flew home. I went to the grocery store and I'm like, nobody knows. I no.
You weren't wearing your medal?
Yeah, it's just the opportunities are endless if you want them to be. Um, we try to tell our oldest, who's going to be 17 soon, like now is your time. Now is the time. Like if you want to fall into the regular norm of 9 to 5 later on, like go for it. But you have something, see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
There's no bubble that you need to fit in. There's no box or square, and it can be anything. You can move to another country and teach jujitsu if you wanted. Like you don't have to stay where you are. And I think a lot of people think that they have to stay where they are, and they don't.
No, absolutely. It just takes a little bit of
A little bit of
oppor-
courage.
a little bit of courage. There's the word I was looking for. A little bit of courage to go out and see what's out there right around the corner for you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and before I close it out with my last question, is there any topic that we didn't cover that you'd like to address that maybe you thought that, hey, you know what? I want to talk about this.
Actually, I think you covered everything, really. Like, I definitely am a big advocate for the mom thing. So you definitely already touched on that. And you touched on making time for yourself. I always try to stress that for people. That is the most important thing because if you get that down, if you're not happy, I can guarantee your happiness will come back, whether it's jujitsu or not. If you can find something that intrigues your mind, happiness will come back.
Absolutely. So my final question for you is if you like, I guess this is a hard one. Let me go ahead and I'll go with a different one. So, if you have a piece of advice that you can give anybody in the jiu-jitsu world when it comes to achieving their goals and pursuing their dreams, whether that be as a world champion, whether that be as a business owner, whether that be as an instructor, what are the fundamental, most basic advice that you could give them to kind of get them motivated to go in those directions?
Small steps. That was a great question. I tell our students that all the time when they come to me and they're like, I want to compete. I'm like, okay. And they're like, and I'm going to win. And I'm like, how are you, how are you going to win? Like, well, I'm going to like submit the guy. How are you going to get there? And they just stare at me. I'm like, you got to think past you have your huge goal here, but just like the little meme or whatever, like they see like the mountain, but then the iceberg is all underneath. Like you have to build up to that. So whether you want to be a gym owner, whether you want to be a world champion, whether you just want to win one tournament. My very first tournament was Worlds. Sorry, no, my very first IBJJF tournament, I think, was like Worlds as a white belt. And no expectation at all. I was like, oh, I'm gonna lose. And so my only goal was to get a sweep. That was my goal. I got third at Worlds that year. Um, and So that was my only goal. And then I swept the girl from like, I almost her sweet thing. And then after I swept her, I came on top and I was like, oh wait, I just accomplished my goal, but there's like 3 minutes left.
What do I do with the rest of the time?
Yeah. So I guess my goal is to win. So I won. And then I went to the bullpen and I was like, okay, I just accomplished my goal. So I need a new one. And I was like, okay, well, I guess it's to win the next match. How am I going to win? Okay, yeah, let's try to like hip bump sweep so I can like go straight to mount again because that worked or whatever. So small goals will get you to your bigger thing that you want, whatever it is. So if you want to be a world champion, better get your diet right. You better get your weightlifting right. You better get your training right. You better get your mind right because 90% of it is your mind. 10% is the technique. Guaranteed. if you want,
Absolutely.
if you want to be a business owner, get your finances right. Get your hopes right. Figure it out. And then just do it. That's it. Trial and error.
Awesome. No, that's perfect. You couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much for sharing all your insight and your wisdom, little tidbits from your journey. I mean, I think you're an excellent role model, not only for women, but for anybody in jiu-jitsu who wants to achieve their goals. You know, you're an example of somebody who's done the work, who's done those little baby steps to get where you're at. So congratulations.
Anybody, it just takes like a little bit of effort.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything with us today. Thank you for your support. Thank you,
Yes.
everyone, for tuning in today, for being a part of this discussion. We look forward to having you guys tune in for our next one. And thank you, Alex. Keep on trucking along.
Okay,
Well,
I'll see you.
yes, absolutely. Hope our paths cross soon. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.